Hi Chewies, and welcome back to the next part of how to paint a Dark Eldar Wych. First of all, please, any other comments and complaints about the sculpt itself, that it isn't a female face, well, tell me what man would run around with such a hair. Any complaints about that, please go directly to Games Workshop. I didn't sculpt this miniature and I want to have a discussion about the paint job and not the miniature. So, what I do now is I simply ink the hair with bought up black ink. So, just like that. So, and then we will go ahead and make this a little bit more shadow here around the eyes, so that she doesn't stare like a mad woman. Well, actually she is a mad woman, but don't have to be that obvious. So it's very simple. Make a blob around the eye, clean out the brush a little bit on the paper towel, and then grab a little bit of the ink again. And then she has a nice face expression. So then we will also go here around the chin a little bit. So, and I think that's enough for the face. So we will shade now the weapon, also with a wash, just a little bit. I imagine the Dark Eldar don't have very dirty weapons. So afterwards we will go to highlight that again with a little bit of mithril silver. So, but for now we need a little bit more depth in this part. So, then here this little combat drop tubes on the backs, on the belt. So, and the grenade. So with it, tiny little easy steps, we have the miniature good shaded. And I think for a tabletop miniature that is absolutely enough. I will let that dry now and I'll be back in a second. And there I am back again, and as promised I will now highlight a little bit the weapons with mithril silver. Just go around the edges a little bit. And voila, you have a nice highlight on the weapons. Just like that. So, and now we will take also the mithril silver and paint in the little needles here in the hair. So that's okay. Now on the other side. There a little bit. There. And there. So. And the miniature is almost done. What I will do now is paint these stones on the weapon. So we assume that these weapons are poisonous weapons. And for that purpose, I think a green would fit the purpose very well. So, for that instance, I take Dark Angel Green and simply paint the stones in this color. So, and then I take Scorpion Green and for all of you sorry, that ask me, where do I get these colors, these old GW colors? Well, I bought them in the GW store. When they were actually the paints that GW produces. So, now we need a tiny little white drop. So, need a little bit wet tip of the brush, so that's good. Okay, and there you have it. 3 little nice green stones. So let's close the color pots. That I don't make here an accident and have everything flooded with color. So, and last but not least, we will make the base. I think I will simply sand it. Okay, for that instance, we only need white glue and sand. So we'll take that off now. You see how sticky that stuff is? Well, I will clean that up and be back in a second. And there, I'm back. What we do now is simply paint the base with the white glue. Be patient not to get this white glue on the feet of the model, just around. So, and then all you're going to do is place the miniature 1 time through the sand, and ta-da! The miniature is sanded. I sometimes get a question what kind of sand I'm using. Well, this is just a little bit sand out of a sandbox on a place for kids. I don't know the English name, sorry. So this needs to dry now, and I'll be back in a second. Now that the sand is dry, I reattached her to my cork, and now we will paint it. I think we will go for a grey base now with some green accents, and for that instance we take Chaos Black with a little bit of powdered black ink and a drop of water. So, and with that we will simply cover the base. And after that, this has to dry again. Sorry for whistling all the time, but I have a little bit of a cold, and together with my smoking, that's not good for my voice. So, this has to dry now, and I'll be back in a second. What I do now is simply dry brushing the whole surface with Codex Gray. Be patient not to hit the legs. So, and after that I will put a tiny amount of white into the grey, and then I will simply dry brush again. Not every part, but a good amount. So, that's enough. What I will do now is take a little bit of, let me see what basing material we have. A little bit of steady grass, then what else? Oh, this one is good. This here, a little bit of green flock. So, then we need a little bit of white glue again. And a tweezer we need. Put that aside. So, then put down a little amount of the white glue on the base. Take the tweezer and put a little bit of this flock on the base. Get rid of the excess. Oh, that was a little bit too less. So, that's enough. That's good. Now we do this again with a little bit of steady grass. Here, also a blob of white glue. Then your steady grass. Take a mount of the tweezer, press it firmly on, tap it off, then blow against it, and voila, we have a nice and simple base. And the last thing we will do to finish up the model is painting the base corner in black. Let me put that aside, grab the paint. So, and you may ask yourself, why the heck didn't she highlight the black parts on the armor? Well, the answer is quite easy. This armor has very many round surfaces. I want this armor to be black, but there are no edges to highlight, like for example at a Space Marine armor.